Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we're diving into a really fascinating case study in personal resilience and structured living. We're examining a personal life audit, specifically a source document titled This Week in Review 2026, Week 32. What we're really unpacking today is this overarching theme of how a meticulously tracked life doesn't just prevent chaos, it actually absorbs unexpected shocks. It's all about building a stoic system for yourself. Okay, let's dive right into this because, it's a reality we all face. What actually happens when a heat wave and, of all things, a stubbed toe completely ruin your perfectly planned week? You can have the most perfectly engineered week laid out in your calendar and then, boom, life happens. A sudden heat wave strikes, or you stub your toe on a piece of furniture, and suddenly everything gets thrown off track. Well, our source author faced exactly this, but instead of throwing their hands up in frustration, they used their tracking system to completely pivot. So here's our roadmap for unpacking this life audit today. We're going to hit 5 sections. First, the baseline routine. Then, physical friction. After that, nutritional mechanics, mental expansion, and we'll wrap it all up with the stoic takeaway. All right, jumping into section 1, the baseline routine, quantifying the week. So, to adapt to life's curveballs, you really need to know where your baseline is. Our author measures their success not by vague feelings, but by hard data, creating this amazing macro view of their own biology and habits. First up, sleep. 6.5. That is the daily average of hours they slept this week. Now, their target is usually 7 or 8 hours, but enter that sudden heat wave and a late-night cup of tea, it totally disrupted their sleep schedule. But because they track this stuff, they know that 6.5 is still safely above their absolute minimum threshold of 6 hours. They acknowledge the low quality of the weekend sleep, sure, but the data shows they're still surviving right within their parameters. Next up, we've got 5,080. That's the average daily step count for the week. The goal was anywhere between 4,500 and 8,000 steps, so they nailed it perfectly. But what's super interesting is how they got there. It wasn't through some rigid, boring gym session. It was achieved through postponed gardening errands. They adapted to the weather, went outside to rake leaves and pull weeds, and just let the chores do the work of hitting that step count. And rounding out our baseline, we have 69.91. That's their average weight in kilograms for the week. Yeah, it's a tiny bump up from 69.79 the week prior, but the author actually notes this is just water weight fluctuation. By checking this daily average, they establish a deep bodily awareness. There's no panic over a slight shift, right? The trend line shows they're successfully maintaining their weight. Moving right along to section 2, physical friction, adapting to setbacks. So the crucial point is that a system is really only as good as its ability to handle roadblocks. And the author is incredibly mindful of physical pain. They note that past knee and back pains have subsided, which is awesome, but nature abhors a vacuum, right? A new physical challenge presented itself. They originally planned to tackle heavy gardening chores and revisit a swimming regime, but due to a self-inflicted toe injury and hilariously realizing they had the completely incorrect swimming trunks, they had to pivot. The adjusted reality became heat pad treatments, localized massaging, and just some light walking. This idea right here perfectly sums up their whole philosophy. When physical friction disrupts a plan, a structured life allows for calm, stoic adaptation. Seriously, rather than feeling defeated by the stubbed toe or the lack of proper swimwear, the author simply fed these new variables into their system and adjusted the output. Recovery took priority over the initial plan, and life just kept moving forward smoothly. Okay, let's jump to section 3, nutritional mechanics, the details of diet. If sleep and movement are the framework, diet is absolutely the mechanical engine behind this physical resilience. The author is incredibly specific about what goes into their body, treating food as a very literal fuel source. I mean, it's like reading the spec sheet for a high-performance machine, and this brilliantly illustrates that method. They track intermittent fasting ratios. They aim for a specific diet ratio of plants to protein to carbs. They're currently balancing at 1 to 1 to 1, but they are aiming for that optimal 2 to 2 to 1 ratio. They explicitly target stopping meals at exactly 70% fullness. Oh, and they even mandate a precise intake of 2 to 3 sardines per week. But they combined this highly engineered approach with comforting meals like miso noodle soup and soft-boiled eggs. As part of optimizing this diet, the author made what they call an amaze discovery. They realized that vegetables actually aren't the primary source of fiber in their daily diet. Instead, ingredients like chia seeds, flax seeds, lentils, and black beans are doing all the heavy lifting. They're constantly tweaking the formula, even noting their recent enjoyment of ginger peppermint tea, which they found intriguing and refreshing and perfectly fitting their caffeine-free needs. Now, all of this dietary tracking, it serves a much deeper biological purpose. Through their readings, the author made a direct connection between diet, sleep, and the gut microbiome. The gut microbiome is essentially this vast, bustling community of microorganisms living right in your digestive tract. By engineering their diet and sleep, the author is directly managing this microbiome, which in turn manages their metabolism and weight. It's just a beautiful, holistic loop of cause and effect. All right, on to section 4, mental expansion, purpose through projects. Because, this weekly review doesn't stop at just the physical body. Hobbies provide a massive outlet for personal growth. They add purpose and satisfaction that go way beyond just executing daily routines. The sheer diversity of their mental expansion is fantastic. When evaluating their active projects, we have fish keeping, specifically trying to breed dwarf cichlids on a specialized yellow-blue rack. We have photography, where they're researching external macro lenses for their phone to capture close-ups of plants, even contemplating buying a used DSLR camera. There's home improvement, doing minor things like decluttering just one single item a day while keeping an eye on some pending tile grout work. And finally, coding. Now, what's really interesting about this is when we zoom into their coding hobbies. The author was exploring pet projects in the Haskell programming language, specifically learning the concept of parse, don't, validate. It's basically a programming idiom that uses the type system to make illegal states utterly unrepresentable. By doing this, it ensures ultimate code accuracy and reliability. The author read a series of highly technical blog posts, parts 206, 207, and 208, just to grasp this. It shows how a personal diary transforms into a rigorous technical lesson. Alongside that deep dive into Haskell, the author had a major revelation regarding artificial intelligence. They noted that their GitHub activity involved hopping through AI-generated projects. The big takeaway here? AI is fundamentally shifting the focus of coding. Instead of spending hours writing tedious boilerplate code, the focus is shifting toward designing the actual models and architecture. It perfectly shows how technological shifts actively change our personal mental workflows. Which brings us to our final part, section 5, the stoic takeaway, the power of incrementalism. Underneath all the step counts, the meticulous sardine tracking, and the Haskell coding, there's a profound underlying philosophy that ties this entire explainer together. It all comes down to maintaining a calm mind amidst a crazy busy life. The author utilizes super simple meditation practices. They do sitting meditations for just 1, 2, or 3 minutes. They practice walking meditation right in the middle of gardening chores, and employing mental noting while raking leaves. Despite having a backlog of pending items like reading a book on the 3 highs or waiting on some stubborn ungerminated seeds in the garden, the author maintains a mindset they describe simply as stoic as usual. And that leads us to the ultimate guiding principle of this entire life logging practice. Small, incremental changes, if possible, on a daily basis. This quote right here is exactly why the author bothers tracking whether they decluttered a single item today. It's why they track a tiny 12-gram weight fluctuation. It's the core belief that massive life changes don't happen overnight. They happen through tiny, deliberate, incremental adjustments, day after day. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought. You've seen the sheer power of the Stoic system. You've seen how tracking the tiny details allows you to totally absorb the chaos of heat waves and stubbed toes. My question to you is, how will you track your incremental progress this week? What small daily changes can you start measuring today to build a more resilient tomorrow? Think about that as you head into your week. Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer, and as always, keep learning.